Good evening. All right, here's a key to that special right triangles multi-step worksheet you have. Here's page 1. So the big deal is you might need to, I don't know if you have a computer screen with you. This is kind of small type, but the big rule, when you're going from a leg to the hypotenuse, and all these, by the way, 1 through 6 are all 45, 45, 90. So we're dealing with multiplying or dividing by the square root of 2. That's all we do with 45, 45, 90. So when going from a leg to the hypotenuse, you multiply by the square root of 2 because the hypotenuse is longer. So you're going to see that. And then what if you go from the hypotenuse to a leg? Well, that's when you divide by the square root of 2. So here's two examples of, if you look closely, the circled responses in there are me multiplying by the square root of 2 in parentheses or dividing by the square root of 2, as you see in number 2. Okay, so that's all we're going to do. We're not simplifying it. We're not going to do any calculations with decimals. Just keep that relationship in mind. When you're moving from legs to hypotenuse or hypotenuse to legs, you're going to be either multiplying or dividing by the square root of 2. So keep going. At number 3, we're going leg to a hypotenuse. We're going to multiply by the square root of 2. I have a leg. I want the hypotenuse. I multiply by the square root of 2. Notice with y in number 3, it's the 3 times the square root of 2 over 2. The legs are the same, so you can just duplicate what's there. But the key is finding the hypotenuse. Now, number 4, you're going from a leg to the hypotenuse. Again, multiplying by the square root of 2. Both cases, I have in parentheses whatever the leg was times the square root of 2. Done. Let it be at that. 5, hypotenuse to the leg, we're going to divide by the square root of 2. So you see that 6 now with a square root of 2 underneath. There it is being divided. And in number 6, we have a hypotenuse to a leg, so we're going to divide by the square root of 2 again. So whatever the hypotenuse is, in this case 2 square roots of 6, we have for x and y, it's divided by the square root of 2. So there you have it. That's how we find the missing sides in a 45, 45, 90. Either multiply or divide by the square root of 2. Now you can use the Pythagorean theorem and go with it, but this is kind of a shortcut, a known relationship in a very, very used triangle in the world. Plus it'll show up on the ACT and SAT. They want to know that you understand that relationship. Tomorrow you work on simplifying this. All right, backside. Let's get to 7 and 8, 30, 60, 90 triangles. Changes a little bit. There's two relationships. One, the long leg and the short leg. They're a square root of 3 factor difference. So the short leg times the square root of 3 is the long leg. Then the short leg and the hypotenuse have a 2-to-1 ratio relationship. So take the short leg times 2 and you get the hypotenuse. So here, I'm going to sum that up again. When you have the hypotenuse, which we do here at 16, you can divide by 2 to get the short leg. If you have the short leg, then you can take that times the square root of 3 and get the long leg. That's the big rule. Okay, those are the right in number 7. That's all of it right there. That's everything we know about 30, 60, 90. You can do Pythagorean theorem. You're welcome to. But because it's such an important triangle, we just need to know these relationships, and they're used a lot. Again, ACT is your nearest usage of it. But of course in construction, 30, 60, 90, and 45-degree angles are pretty much the standard. When you have the short leg, and we're looking for, it looks like both the hypotenuse and the long leg, well, you multiply by the square root of 3 to get the long leg. Okay, and if we want to get that from the short leg to the hypotenuse, well, you just multiply by 2. And that's it. Now, in a single triangle, not too bad. These are relationships you have to memorize. If we turn to the next page and start dealing with those, they get a little bit more complicated. But this really wraps things up. Take care.